Hi, my name is Indigo, and I am presenting the information for the Democratic Peace Theory assignment. So just to give a brief overview, the Democratic Peace Theory is a theory that supports the idea that democracies do not engage in war with other democracies. This does not say that democracies don't engage in war, just simply that they don't engage in wars with one another. An interesting concept that I found that does support the idea of the democratic peace theory was by two professors, Professor Michael Toms and Professor Jessica Weeks, was that public opinion plays a huge factor into democratic peace. Um, and the democratic peace theory. With that being said, democracies have a check and balance system in place. What that means on a state level, on a state level itself, they have checks and balances, and those checks and balances on that individual state level, on an overall level, come together and create a check and balance system between the two different states. With other forms of political systems, they may not have those checks and balances. They may not have they may be willing to sacrifice the human life and the financial burdens that come along with engaging in wars with other nations, other states. But democratic states have to go through the public. They have to go through the scrutiny and the burden that comes along with opinion in general. So I think that is an interesting concept that kind of supports the theory. It's obviously, in my belief, that it's evident in politics right now internationally. Anyhow, moving on, in order to examine relationships of alliances, I performed the Pearson's chi-square test, or for short, the chi-square test. This is a statistical method of testing that demonstrates the likeliness of an observed difference being based on chance or pattern. So again, just to reiterate, that just is saying that this test checks whether or not a difference exists because of chance, such as use an example of our video, just flipping a coin. You have two choices. You have the chances for that are for picking the right one is 50-50. But what this test does is demonstrate whether or not the results are by chance or if there is a pattern. It doesn't say what the pattern is, just that there is something that exists that shows a pattern. So for the chi-square test, I had my conditions, which were the alliances or not between these states. And then for the groups that I used with these conditions were whether or not they were democratic nation states or if they were not. So I gathered the information using the Freedom House map of democracy. And then the three regions that we used were the Middle East, South Asia, and Eastern Europe. So my results from the chi-square test gave me a chi-square value of 11.667 and a p-value of 0.006. This just indicates that there is a pattern in the current alliances and the makeup of these alliances with democratic states that are our allies versus democratic states that are not allies, and alliances between states that are not or are democracies. So I think that's a very interesting concept. It does show that there is data to support the idea that the democratic peace theory is true. So thank you so much for your time, and you have a good evening.